All right, so today we're going to be working with multiplying and dividing fractions and mixed numbers. Just like when we're adding and subtracting with mixed numbers, you always need to remember to make those mixed numbers into improper fractions. You have to do it for multiplying and dividing, not as much for adding and subtracting unless you're working with negatives. So make sure, I just always tell my students to make sure that no matter what, adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing, when you're working with mixed numbers, go ahead and make them into improper fractions. Once you make them improper fractions, or if they aren't mixed numbers, you just multiply straight across. Some of you like to cross reduce, and I'm going to show you that method, but if you don't like to do that, I will also solve the problem the regular way, and you can see if that makes more sense for you. It's really up to you. Ultimately, always simplify. So when we look at this first example that I'm going to do for you, I have 3 over 4, 3/4 times 5/8. If I look diagonally across 4 and 5, they cannot cross reduce. If I look diagonally across 3 and 8, have nothing in common but 1. So I am just going to multiply straight across. 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 8 is 32. And there is nothing that goes into both of them except for 1. So ours is already simplified. Okay. Our next example we have is 12/8 times 6/4. So on this one, we can cross reduce. I'm going to show you without cross reducing, and then I'm going to show you with cross reducing. So if we don't cross reduce 12/8 times 6/4, we just multiply across. So 12 times 6 is 72. If you don't know that, you can multiply it by hand. Don't use a calculator. And 8 times 4 is 32. I know that both of these are divisible by 2 because they're even. So when I do that, I get 36 over 16. And again, both of these are divisible by 2. But I know my multiplication facts, so I realize that 36 and 16 are also divisible by 4. So when I do that, I am left with 9 over 4. Or I could write that as 2 and 1/4. Either one of these is correct. It's really up to you to decide. Sorry for my husband talking in the background if you hear him. Now, if you do not want to cross reduce, if you do want to cross reduce, you can. If we look diagonally across at 8 and 6, both 2 can go into both 8 and 6. So if we divide 8 by 2, that leaves us with 4, and if we divide 6 by 2, that leaves us with 3. If we look diagonally across at 12 and 4, we can also cross reduce. 4 actually goes into both of them. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I'm really left with 3/4 times 3 over 1. Now I multiply straight across. 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 1 is 4. So I actually got the same answer. It's just I simplified before multiplying. So you get to decide what makes more sense to you. All right, over here on number 2, we have 4/7 times 1 and 1/2. So we need to first make them into improper fractions. 4/7 is already there, and 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3, so we have 3 over 2. In this case, you could cross reduce the 4 and the 2. I'm not going to do it this time, but you are welcome to. So I'm just going to multiply straight across. 4 times 3 is 12, and 7 times 2 is 14. I know 2 goes into both of them, so I reduce to 6/7, and that is my solution. Now if you decide to cross reduce, 4/7 times 3 over 2, what you would do is, looking at 4 and 2, 2 goes into both of them, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 times 3 across the top, across the top is going to give us 6, and 7 times 1 is 7. So I got the same answer, just simplifying ahead of time instead of at the end. Okay, number 3 here, we have -3 and 7/8. So we need to multiply we'll just do 3 times 8, which is 24, plus 7 is 31, and then I put my negative in front. So everything in there is negative, and it stays negative. All right, on this one, we actually cannot cross reduce because 31 and 6, they're not divisible by anything but 1, and 5 and 8, same thing. So when we multiply straight across, 31 times 5, I end up getting 31 times 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. 155 over 48. So I know that 48 is close to 50. So that would mean that 50 goes into 155 3 times. So I know that 48 also goes in there 3 times. And this will give us 12, 13, 14, 144. So we could also reduce this to 3 and 11/48. Either way is correct. You decide what works for you. All right, our last one here. Even though there is no multiplication dot, it is still implying that we are multiplying because it's parentheses. So 2 times 4 is 8 plus 9. 1 is 9/4. And then we're going to multiply by 1 times 3 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So -5/3. On this one, we can cross reduce. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 goes into 3 1 time. So 3 times -5 is -15, and 4 times 1 is 4. So we could also simplify to be -3 and 3/4. Either way, up to you. Just make sure you include your negative sign. Okay, so when we are working with dividing fractions or mixed numbers, again, we make mixed numbers into improper fractions, and then we do your famous phrase. A lot of you remember this from last year, keep, change, flip. It's like KFC, but it's KCF. Multiply straight across and then simplify. So if we are looking at this first one, we have 8/9 divided by 1/2. So we're going to keep 8/9, change division to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. When we flip a fraction, it is also called the reciprocal. Okay? So now we're just going to multiply straight across 8 times 2 and 9 times 1. So we have 16/9, or 1 and 7/9. Both are correct. You choose. On number 1 for our example here, we're going to be working with 3/4 divided by 5/8. So on this one, we're going to keep our 3/4, change division to multiplication, and flip 5/8 to become 8/5. On this one, we can cross reduce. 4 goes into 4 1 time, 4 goes into 8 2 times, and then we multiply across. So 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 5 is 5, so you can have 6/5 or 1 and 1/5. Sorry. If you decided not to cross reduce, you would have gotten 24/20, which you could simplify down to 6/5 or 1 and 1/5. Okay. So on this one, we have to make each of them an improper fraction first, then we can keep, change, flip. So 1 and 1/2 becomes 3/2, divided by 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 31/8. Sorry, plus 7. So now to keep, change, flip, we keep the first one, change division to multiplication, and the second one becomes 8/31. Again, we can cross reduce. 2 goes into 2 1 time, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So we multiply straight across. 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 times 31 is 31. And that is completely reduced. If you decided not to reduce with simplifying beforehand, cross reducing, you would have gotten 24/62, and that could reduce to 12/31. Both get you the same answer, just simplifying ahead or before or after. All right, number 3, we have both negative numbers, so that automatically gives us a positive. So we're going to keep -7/9 times 3/-2. Doesn't matter where you put the negative, it's still going to give you the same answer. All right, so on this one, we can cross reduce, but I'm just going to show you how when you don't cross reduce, what happens. So 7 times 3 is 21, and it's negative. And then we have 9 times negative 2, which is negative 18. Okay, so we have a double negative, so that becomes a positive. If you didn't know that, you could divide both of these by negative 3, and that will give you 7 over 9. Right? Yes, 7 over 9. Oh, no, 9, 6. I knew I did something wrong. Okay, so 7, 6, and it is positive, or 1 and 1/6. For this one, just remember that it's going to end up positive. So however you get to that positive value, up to you. If you decide to keep with the negative 2/3, if you decide to keep the negative with the 3, that's completely fine as well. You end up getting negative 7 times negative 3, which would give you positive 21, and in the denominator it'd be positive 18. So you get the same thing. Okay. All right, last problem. So our last problem here, we have 1/2, and then we're going to keep it as dividing, and then it's negative 2 and 2/3. So I'm going to make it an improper fraction first, then I'll keep change flip. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So I have 8/3. And remember that that is negative. Sorry about all the Alexa that you've just heard throughout this video. All right, now we have 1/2 times negative 3/8 because we keep change flip, and we multiply straight across because in this case we cannot cross reduce. So this gives us negative 3 over 16. And that is our answer. Remember that one was negative, one was positive, so it does stay negative. Don't forget to do the work that is on Canvas. I don't know what's wrong with this. Here we go. There is a little bit of work for you to do on Canvas. If you need help, if you need to go back to your notes or video, go ahead and feel free to do that. Sorry again for the Alexa. Make sure that you go back to your notes if you have questions. Make sure you ask questions to Ms. Gabolas or Ms. Vinius if you are in class and they're there. They're more than happy to help you as well as working with other students. If you wanted to, you could have paused it throughout the videos to make sure that you can go back. If you just want to rewind and go back to where you were so you can take your own notes, that's fine. I don't care if your notes are on paper or on the Notability. It's totally up to you how you decide to do that. So I hope you're having a great day and wish you well. Email me if you have questions. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.